When I was a kid growing up in the city of Trenton, it was a vibrant community. The working class people made a good living. There was a lot of good jobs, and it was very stable. I went into service in 1966 in the Army, and I was a military policeman. And I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1968. My unit was put on alert to come to the city of Trenton because there were riots going on in the city of Trenton. That really hit me hard, hearing that about the city I grew up in, what had happened. And after that, things in the city started to get tough for a lot of people. A lot of the industries left. People started to flee to the suburbs and whatnot.
The city of Trenton continued to really struggle like a lot of small cities in the 70s. And, by the time 1982 hit, this country was in a bad recession. What's really amazing to me is that 40 years later, as we're acknowledging the anniversary of the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, we are also in the worst recession since 1982.
I was the director of the Council of Churches in Trenton at that time. And we were having people come to the churches for food. And so we became aware that there was a problem in Trenton. So we got together to try to see, what we might be able to do about it. And of course, soup and sandwiches was the first answer that we could come up with. So that's what we tried. Alice Parker, a woman who had already been working in that area, she had some access to sources of food, but then the question was where could we facilitate this?
In the beginning of TASC, we were housed in the Methodist Church on the Commons. It was a very convenient location. They had a very spacious kitchen. It was everything that we needed at that time as a beginning organization. It did become very controversial and became very turbulent because the Trenton Economic Division or whatever was trying to revitalize the area. And unfortunately, it was their opinion that the soup kitchen and the revitalization of that area could not coincide.
My first board meeting I was told that the soup kitchen had lost where it was at the First Methodist Church was no longer going to allow us to stay there, and we had to vacate in the near future.
So we tried looking around at some other places that we could use. It was kind of a hit and miss proposition at first, trying to figure out just how we could make the whole thing work,
At that point, the board did a lot of soul searching and made a decision to try to continue and, actually, served out of a parking lot for a few months until thankfully the Salvation Army was nice enough to take us in on a 6-month term, which stretched out into 5 years. And in that 5-year period, money was raised for the building now that is at 72.5 Escher Street. It really was a triumph of community because the whole group got together, the entire county. I mean, people came from all different places.
In Mercer County, we're really fortunate that people keep their eye on what their mission is. It's how can we work and share our resources and share our expertise to better the status of our patrons.
TASC is, I think, truly a triumph of community because it takes the community for us to succeed.
TASC is a leader in the city of Trenton in a lot of ways in this point in time. Not only with its programs, but in the fact that our presence is here. I mean, a lot of the local leaders come to TASC for various reasons, and they have the opportunity to hear what we have to say. They're seeing the people. The fact that they see people, what the people's needs are, it helps them hopefully stay focused on what they need to do as politicians, as leaders to help things move along.
I really think we are celebrating that triumph of community, the fact that this community has risen up to meet the needs of the people who are hungry and who need a lot of other help.
task feeds the body and task feeds the soul.
So many of those that come to us, for one reason or another, may not have family or friends in the area, and being able to sit down and have a meal together, that's a really critical piece.
People could leave whatever grievances they had at the door and come in and see friends, see family, have a good meal.
The most unique thing about Task, and we hear it all the time from our patrons, they were treated just so in such a caring and dignified way.
We created what I call a dining room of hospitality for the patrons. Light colors on the walls, the Task's artist work, patrons, art all around the walls, music coming in the PA system. So I think the patrons saw that, hopefully as a sign of respect.
It's amazing, truly, that kind of humanity that's shared, the recognition of the need. I think the key word is service to others.
If I had to sum Task up in one sentence, I would have to say that Task is a family.
We were waiting for somebody to be taken away in the ambulance, and we wanted to send somebody with him. And they said, no, only family can go. And I said, we are a family. And then they let one of our patrons go to the hospital with the gentleman.
Task is full of special memories for me. But the most recent one that hit me is when we reopened our kitchen after the renovation. We also reopened the serving line after the pandemic so that we were able here at Asher Street to start serving food on real plates with real utensils and deliver them to people at the tables. And when the patrons came in and sat down and realized they were going to be served a meal for the first time in 2 years, there was clapping abounding. It was really wonderful to hear.
I had a cousin who went missing. He was an only child for my aunt, one of my aunts. He had been having some mental health issues, and then one day I happened to look up and he was in the soup line. And I remember going over and saying something to him, but unfortunately his illness was so severe, he didn't want to speak to me. I knew he recognized me, but he didn't want me to say anything to him or acknowledge him. And so I respected that. I told my aunt about seeing him, and she was just so elated that her only child was alive, and that he was at least getting one meal a day. That was my gift to her, because not that long after he passed away and he was found dead. But she had that comfort in knowing that at least I had seen him and that he was being fed once a day.
If I think of special memories, there's not one. There's all those faces that you would be handing food to and people would look at you high. When I was a union representative, I saw people I knew lost their jobs. They're on the line. They're eating food. They're happy. They go sit down next to their friends and neighbors. They talk to each other. It might have been the only quiet, safe time they had during the day. They had tough lives, but at least they were in the soup kitchen. There was a sense of community, and they were there. So all those faces, I'll always see all those faces.
Our vision was fundamentally to feed people, but at the same time, the thing that I'm so grateful for is the Task saw a larger vision of trying to help people educationally and with work opportunities.
We offer so many other programs, social services, we have adult education, we have an art program, a music program, poetry program. So there's a lot of other things that bring people in besides having a good meal.
You guys have done a wonderful job with the wraparound services that you provide, beyond just feeding the body, but feeding the soul.
If something comes up here, nobody ever says we can't do that. It's how do we do it?
I just congratulate them on their continually finding new ways to respond to the need and new ways of finding the resource to do that.
Hunger is a basic human need that should be met, and we can solve this problem. We can, at least for the people that we know and the people that we can reach and the people in our community, we can make this problem go away.
It's just a great love for me to know that what we started 40 years ago has grown and developed the way it has. So my congratulations to you and everybody involved in it, and all of the best wishes for the future.
The guiding principles upon which TASC were founded in 1982 are still extremely evident today, and we will continue on to both serve people directly living in poverty, help them raise their voices, and raise our voices to make sure that there's not as many people living in poverty anymore.